All right.
There.
We'll do it this way. Good morning, Craig.
How are you, Mark?
I'm doing well. My first question for you is, what's the handicap?
Well, the handicap is impacted by sciatica, so it's not very good right now.
Well, but how many scores you put in? Because if you still have to play to a lower number, and that's the case, this is the time I want to play you, because I'm a 15 that plays a little better than that.
Oh, well, then you would win money from me right now.
Good. Can we go play?
Yeah,
You owe me some, for crying out loud. You always took it from me every time we played. The only time I beat Craig Brush on a hole, true story. Craig and I are playing Golf Club of the Everglades, and I know you remember this, Craig. They had a great finishing hole, and they screwed that course up, but that's a story for another day. 17 is a terrific hole. And it looked, it looked like there's a palm frond in the fairway. And Craig and I are driving up, and the palm frond's moving. I don't know if anybody on social media saw the picture of the big rattlesnake a couple of weeks ago that was here. Right after the big alligator, there was a big rattlesnake on Corkscrew Road. And I'm not joking. This rattlesnake, Craig, 5-6 feet, it was a monster.
Oh, it's bigger than that.
I don't think Craig could pull the club back.
5 feet.
I don't think Craig could pull the club back the last two holes. Craig was so distraught on 18. Very good driver of the golf ball. He damn near whiffed. We finish 18. He walks up to the cart guy and says, I don't know, you got to go out to 17. There's a rattlesnake. You got to get it off the course. The only time I think I know I've beaten Craig on the 8. That and when we were in PD and I played the round of my life with Craig and shot even par at a course in Florence, South Carolina.
You remember that better than I do.
Well, it's the best round of golf ever played in my life, Craig. Of course I do. Hey, first off, thanks for doing this. We appreciate it. Secondly, congratulations. You're playing. Despite everything that's going on, how did the ECHL pull this off?
Well, we've had Zoom calls that lasted between 2 and 3 hours starting in March, at least once a week. And, there's still a lot of minefields out there, as you know, with watching college football and what's happened there. But we have a protocol, and the players, at least at this point, are observing it. We're just waiting. We'll have rapid tests that we'll be doing twice a week when they get here. And they should be arriving in the next day or two. The players, when they came in, they had to take a PCR test before they left home, another PCR test when they got here, and we created a little artificial bubble at the back of the arena, and we're going to do our best. But it's a challenge without a question.
Well, between then and now, did you think that you were going to have a season? I mean, we saw the A basically say, yeah, we're out. And up until 24 hours ago, there was no start date for the NHL. I mean, at some point, did you think, oh my goodness, not only did we not finish last year, I don't even know if we're going to play this year.
Yeah. Well, when you go back to March and how disappointed we were, the run that the team was on, the kind of personnel that we had, and losing last season with a really great opportunity to make a dent again in the playoffs. No one conceived that this would last as long as it has. But as the summer rolled through, and there wasn't much progress with the virus, it started to become a concern. And we're just lucky that we're in the state of Florida. As you know, Mark, from being from Michigan, and I still have a home up there and family up there. It's like two different worlds on the way that the approach to this is, and who knows what's right. But we can only worry about ourselves and the teams in the league, the other teams that are going to play. We know we have 13. We could get 2 more, and we'll just take it from there. And for the first time, as you know, I'm pretty competitive, but it's less about winning this year than it is in finishing the season.
Well, and that was kind of how David and I approached damn near every sport that started, whether it was golf, whether it was when hockey came back. It was like, can we just finish? I know how competitive you are, Craig, and I know how much you love the GM hat. You also have been able to get a good affiliate again in Nashville, and noticed yesterday or the day before, they sent you about 4 other players. Craig, is this going to be arguably the most talent that the Everblades have ever put on the ice, just given the symptoms of the circumstances surrounding COVID?
Yeah. Well, it's not just us.
Right.
Every team that's playing is going to be good. You can't help but be good. There's so many players that are available, and teams that typically don't recruit that well. This year are going to have these players handed to them. So it's going to be and we look at it right now. It's almost like 3 different rosters that we could have. We got the one that we're starting with now, which is blessed with a lot of talent. The NHL is going to start their training camp, I believe, on January the 2nd. And so we'll lose some players to training camp at that point. And then it's a question of whether or not Milwaukee plays. If Milwaukee plays, then it's going to be, sort of back to where it was. But if they don't play, then we're going to have a lot of players, and maybe even more players that they're going to want to place here. So it's a balancing act, because this year we had a lot of returning players, and nobody that we don't want to see playing. We've increased, at least for this first wave, until the NHL camp start, we're going to play with 20 players instead of 18. So that gets 2 more guys that are actually going to be on the ice. But it's like every day something changes, so you just have to roll with it.
Well, all right. You played 2 exhibition games, Friday and Saturday. How did that go? I mean, first off, just, from a hockey standpoint, from an arena standpoint, people showing up. I mean, how did it go?
Friday night, we had exactly the same number of people in the building on the drop count as we had the year before, which was remarkable. Of course, it's a different scenario. We are requiring that you wear a mask unless you are eating or drinking. And, there's some license that's been taken with that. There was one guy that decided that he was eating with a lollipop in his mouth. So we may have a smoking and lollipop section for people we'll have to deal with that one. But, you got people that won't come because they have to wear a mask, and you've got people that want to be here and they're worried about people that won't wear a mask. So our plan that's been approved is that we will place the season ticket holders where their seats are. That was something that they really wanted, and it is allowed by our governor. So they can sit in the seats and they feel comfortable because they're the people next to them. They know they're friends. So, but again, everybody has to wear a mask. And if somebody is uncomfortable with their seat, then there's going to be sections that will be designated for those people where there be a lot of social distancing.
Was at the arena on Saturday on the other side. Daughter was there for a birthday party. My first twirl on the ice in about 15 years, Craig. I had to scrape off the old CCMs to get her out there for a little bit. But
yeah, I did hear they had to Zamboni twice after you got off.
Well, a lot of snow plowing, Craig. You know that. I will say the one thing that was comforting to me, and I've not been there a whole lot in the past few years, but what was remarkable to me, Craig, is on that side how normal it seemed. And everybody was in masks, and there was a junior the older kids. I think it was the tier 3 juniors of the junior level junior Everblades were playing, and they had a couple hundred people at the game. The lobby seemed normal. Yeah, there was public skating with masks on, which was a little strange for some of us. But I will say inside, I ran into Scott Bryant, your vice president there. It seemed normal. Yeah.
Well, we've been at that since May. And, we were open very cautiously with that in terms of how much ice time we rented and the times between games and things of that nature. We didn't start public skating, I think, until July. And that was with a reduced number of people. And we're still not up to capacity there. But, so far, so good. There's been, a couple instances where the COVID has surfaced, but we've been we've been very lucky. It's been not within the building. It's been somebody that was here and just made us aware of it. And so, we're just keeping our fingers crossed that we don't have an outbreak.
Craig, I'm glad you brought that up, because I guess, I'm watching the comments here in the Twitch room, and someone says, I'm in the want to be there, but don't want to deal with the no mask crowd. One of the things that occurred to me when you said that, the rapid testing for the players, what about for the staff? What about for the concession people? I know you've always used volunteers. How do you control the outside factors that are not players? Because it's one thing to make sure there's a bubble for the Florida Everblades hockey team and do your best you can to keep those players safe. How do you do your best? And it's a damn near impossible question, Craig. I know that. But to do what you can to ensure that those that are attending games are in the safest position they can be. Yeah.
Well, if anybody is in the feeling sick in the slightest, we tell them to go stay home and then go get a test. That's a starter. But we're really relying upon everybody to take a mature view of this and to live their life in a way that they're not subjected to this, and come to work and basically go home. So after that, there isn't much that you can do. You can't predict everything that's going to happen. We've had a couple of employees test positive, and that their wife or spouse was subjected to it at work or something like that. So when that happens, we observe all the protocols, and every employee does get a temperature check before each game and fills out a survey for our part-time people when they come into the building.
And I thought I saw, when I went to pick up tickets the other day, that I thought that everybody who comes in the building is getting a temperature check. Is that true?
No, we thought about doing that, and it was just going to be too onerous.
Okay. Couple of questions.
We did do that on the rec side when we first opened up, and when the restriction was lifted on that, we stopped doing it.
Okay.
And we started with masks, stopped masks for a while, and then reinstituted it.
Couple of questions that have been submitted. Capacity. Is there a limit?
For me, about 6 beers.
Okay.
Well, as you know, the governor says we can put 7,181 in here.
Right.
Even if we wanted to, I don't think that's going to happen this year. The group business is going to be limited at best. People don't want to put their name on a bunch of people coming to a function.
Yep.
So we are, the way we put our plan together, after the season ticket holders sit where they want to sit, it's every other row. And then with some special pods for players, team doctors, things like that. And then other pods where people can go, or not pods, but other areas where people can go that want to be completely socially distanced. So we're guessing that number is around 4,000. For this weekend, I think we're for opening night, we're at about 2,500 tickets sold right now, and a little less than that for Saturday night. So it's a big hit in terms of the actual number of people that are going to be here. Mark, you're familiar with drop count. We're just hopeful that people want to come, and that when they get a ticket in their hand, they're going to take advantage of it. The other thing, we don't know what the walk up for the game is going to be like. There's no way of knowing that till they come here. So it's it's a wait and see. We're looking at opening weekend as kind of a barometer of what we're going to be faced with for the season. But it's the fact that when you look at a team, and I've got close friends who run teams that are passionate about hockey, that can't run, they can't play this year. Think in particular a good friend of mine who runs a team in Cincinnati, and it's devastating. They're trying to just do things in the marketplace to keep people employed, and to keep their name out there. But as you know, if you miss a whole year, it's going to have an impact on your business.
Well, Craig, I've talked about this. David and I've talked about this countless times. When people were all worried about the NHL and the NBA, I started thinking about the high school hockey team. I have a friend of mine who coached a team in Saginaw. They were in the Final Four when the season got canceled, and they'll never get that back. Craig, when you talk about your buddy in Cincinnati, these junior teams in Michigan, Craig, how many of the percentage, your best guess, speculate for me. If we get a whole year with a bunch of teams not playing, do 75% of them come back? Do 50% of them come back? I mean, how many teams do you anticipate that we could just flat out lose because of this?
Yeah, I don't even want to think about it, to be honest. I haven't thought about that. I've been so focused on what we're doing. But it's not just hockey, it's everything.
Right.
I was on a Zoom call a couple of weekends ago with Cornell, and in March of last year, their men's team and their women's team were both ranked number 1 in the country. And they got shut down, and now they're shut down for the year. So you have these players who were juniors last year thinking they might win a national championship. Now they won't even get to play their senior year. And there may some of them may transfer. They have the right to go back for a 5th year, but that's not really a thing that works well in the Ivy League.
No, because you're not getting a full scholarship in the Ivy League. They're paying something, right. and this is not like hanging out for 2 extra years at Cornell is free. I mean, right. We've talked even at the football level. Yeah, they can offer you the scholarship, but it doesn't mean they're going to keep offering. They don't have to offer you the scholarship. The NCAA just suggests that they do.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a sad state of affairs.
All right. So tickets are available. Like someone who's listening right now, I think we're getting the impression that they're kind of excited that you're playing and they want to go. So
right.
They can come by and just buy tickets at the gate.
They can.
Okay. We had a question about the teddy bear toss game. And I thought when I picked up the tickets that you guys have scheduled like your first 6 or 7 games. You've got a schedule maybe through like the mid to late January, and then you're going to kind of see how things are. So I don't even know if the teddy bear toss game has even been scheduled yet.
It has not been scheduled. We would still like to have that. Obviously, it won't be before Christmas, which is ideal. But if you look at all the components of that, the biggest part for us is having our players go to the Children's Hospital with the Bears. That can't happen. So until such time as we can do that, and hope, the schedule right now is going to take us out till the regular season is going to take us right out till the first week of June. So hopefully there's some, that we're in a position where we can have a teddy bear toss.
You had mentioned earlier, Craig, that you kind of have a pseudo bubble for your players. What is the protocol for the players?
The players have an app, and when they get up in the morning, they have to take their temperature. They have to answer 10 questions, and if any one of them is a yes, then they're shut down until they talk to the trainer. And when they get to the arena, they have to we take their temperature outside the building before they come in. And then they come in, they wear a mask until they go on the ice. And, we're asking them when they finish playing, as you know, Saturday nights are usually nights to go for a player, and they can't go to bars. They've signed that is a condition of play. There's 4 or 5 restaurants that we've designated that are social distancing and doing everything the right way, that they can go to eat. And the rest of the time, they just they can go to the beach, they can play golf, and they can hang out at the apartments.
Have you had any players resist?
Not yet. I'll tell you what. These guys think that they're so blessed to be able to play when they look at all the players that aren't playing.
Right.
And they know what the consequences are. It can be as severe as being cut from the team.
And that's a fascinating answer, Craig, because, I've been around these guys. I was around these guys for a lot of years. And you and I both know, and David and everybody else listening, when you're 21 to 26, you feel pretty damn bulletproof. Like there's nothing, and certainly COVID be damned, I would think how most of them think. But the fact that you say they feel blessed and are so aware of what's going on in the rest of the world athletically says a lot about where these young kids are, because we all know the way that the normal young athlete acts and thinks.
Well, first of all, I think there's a difference between a player on the team today and one 15 years ago or 20 years ago, in terms of what their goals and objectives are. And there isn't as much partying. Not to say it doesn't occur. It certainly does, but it's not like it was in the old days. So, and now when you throw this on top of it, they all know that if they screw up, I mean, if they get it and it's incidental, then that's so be it. And we're prepared for that. We have a designated apartment that would be a COVID apartment that cost us some money to do. So they'd have a place to go to quarantine. But if they screw up and do it, then they know they're going to be gone. And the pool of players right now, just to give you an example, we turned down a player who played in the American League last year in his first year, and just because we didn't have room. And the year before that, he scored 50 goals, and he's 6'5". And all the scouting reports on him were great. We simply right now don't have room because part of it is our loyalty to the players that were here before, and the influx of players that we got from Nashville. So it's a different ball game, and there's going to be a lot more players come available when the AHL finally decides what they're going to do.
He's Craig Brush. He's the president and general manager of the Florida Everblades, and they get their season underway Friday night at home. And you said that you have right now the plan is for the ECHL to have a regular season that extends all the way to June 1st. So does that mean you're going to have almost a week in between every game where everybody's going to play a 2-game or 3-game series, and then one team's going to stay home, the other team's going to go back, everybody's going to test, make sure everything's okay before people start traveling? It seems as if that's kind of how it's going to go.
Well, let me go back to the beginning on this. Is that we have this abbreviated schedule through the middle of January. And now that has been extended we thought that the second wave of teams would come in on January the 15th. Now there's only 2 that are trying, Fort Wayne and Toledo, and they asked for an extension until the middle of February. So we now just yesterday got a schedule that will take us through the middle of February. But the original teams are going to try to play a 72-game schedule, and that may be folly, but that was decided 2 months ago, that we would try to play a regular schedule and then have an abbreviated playoff starting in June.
Craig, good luck. I mean, really and truly, good luck to you, your coaches, your players, the staff at the arena. This is a monumental task to try to pull off. And believe it or not, I think at least, I don't know about the world, Craig, but I do think the sports country is watching the ECHL. I think what happens with your league will help a lot between now and whenever a vaccine is distributed. So the eyes of sports are going to be on you, and we wish you the best of luck, Craig.
Thanks very much, Mark. And good talking to you guys.
Take care.
Craig Brush, president and general manager of the Florida Everblades.